Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning and welcome back to the lecture series on partition of India in print media and cinema. We are talking about a refugee woman and the patriarchal society. Today we are going to discuss a very important work, a significant contribution made by Satyajit Ray on the situation of Bengal partition, the situation of the refugee women through his cinematic work. So we are going to look at Satyajit Ray's work, Mahanagar or the big city, where a middle class, he studies a case of a middle class refugee family and the journey of the Bengali refugee woman, which he depicts through the character of his female protagonist Arati in this film. Her journey from being an ordinary homemaker to becoming a working woman in a metropolitan city such as Calcutta in the post-partition times. So, refugee women, when we talk about refugee and the larger and in the larger discussion of partition, women have been typically viewed as inferior to their male counterpart who had who did not have as much stake in the process of independence, in the process of rebuilding what has been lost. So, they were generally seen as objects of desire and pity, and so partition literature has appeared as women in partition literature, as critics note, have appeared as marginal, secondary, and in their affiliations to males as mothers, wives, sisters or mistress rather than as independent agents. So, this also harkens back what Uditi Sen talks about, and the four stereotypes that categorize the refugee woman. She could either be the spinster and someone that is in a way remembered with a lot of a kind of reverence, and yet with a sense of pity, because she is someone that never could have her own family, and in a bid to earn for her earn single-handedly for her family, for her kin. Then we have the figure of the refugee woman as the prostitute, someone that has resorted to prostitution in order to earn earn bread. So in order to become the breadwinner in the family, and also the overinflated image of the refugee woman as a pioneer who becomes the first working woman, which is also a kind of historically placing her on the plinth of success, which disregards in the past women's struggles in the pre-partition times within Gandhian feminist factions. So, it erases women's contributions in the anti-colonial struggles, especially as parts of Gandhian feminist wings. So, women's absence as subjects of history is due to the fact that they are presumed to be outside of the history. They are not considered as part of the public and the political, where history from which from which history actually draws its ingredients, from which history is made, history is shaped, and so she has no role whatsoever in history, in the process of history formation, according to Ritu Menon. So, we see that the case of the refugee in a way subsumes the case of the refugee woman. Women have been traditionally treated as the honor of the community to which they belonged, and so during violent religious, communal and ethnic conflicts, they become the receptacle, they become the major targets as a way of translating humiliation and insult to the entire family and community to which they belong. So, we see that the nation, we have also spoken about how the nation is imagined as the mother, the nation is seen as the feminine entity, and so the gendering of the nation legitimizes the idea as the nation being legitimizing the idea that the nation needs to be protected by the male citizens from the illegitimate outsiders, and this process of insider outsider dynamic actually also sanctions or justifies civil wars, communal wars. So, we see that India has been historically identified as Bharat Mata. This imagination drew its lifeblood, its spirit, especially from the Swadeshi movement, where the role of the men was to protect the honor of the mother. This became a metaphor of protecting one's own female kin from the outsider, from the other community. Denis Kandiyoti notes that women bear the burden of playing the mother of the nation, and also have to assume the role of reproducing the boundaries of ethnic national groups. Their bodies are like the fault lines between different social groups, and so they transmit the culture, and they are marked, their bodies, women's bodies are markers of differences among different social, so their bodies are markers of differences between social groups. So, Polumi Chakraborty notes that there is a connection between the ordinary banal life and the extraordinary violence or cataclysm which defines the partition, or the partition or the time period encompassing partition. So, she argues that the interface between one's everyday world, the mundane existence, and the extraordinary historical times could be further investigated in favor of discovering the situation, which would enable, I mean, in order to discover and identify the lives of the refugee women. So, women's lives actually lay somewhere at the interface of this ordinary everyday and the extraordinary historical moments. We see that we have already talked about the numerous obstacles that women faced in the refugee camps, where they had to resettle, especially we are thinking of the permanent liability camps for women that did not have any male guardian. So, they had to face challenges at the time of conflicts and even beyond that. Rather than finding solace in refugee camp, a lot of women fell victims, both within the community and in their own families. So, these experiences remain in the oblivion, and we see that the question of lack of humanitarian aid in refugee camps, and the discourse, the popular discourse running between, or the discourse available between the camp life and the, you know, the government, the authorities, actually obliterate or silence the specific case of the refugee woman. In the refugee government dialogue, in the you know, in the refugee mobilizations and demands, what becomes, what tends to take a back seat is the case of the refugee woman. So, Uditi Sen notes that even a history of ordinary people tend to become a socio-economic and political history of ordinary men. So, when we are talking of the case of a people, we are referring to the case of the men, where the voices of women are in a way obfuscated and muffled and marginalized. So, Prafulla Chakraborty's Marginal Men is also dealing only with the survivals and rights and demands that were waged by the refugees from East Pakistan, and the rise of left politics in West Bengal, which is all a very male or you know, male centric, which is all a very male centric discourse. It has very little to portray or reveal about the role of the refugee woman. So, however, it is ironical, like I have said, that the mores and the cultural values are inscribed not upon the bodies of the men, but on the bodies of the women. So, as far as retaining or upholding the social values or a community's values are concerned, the woman's body is always under the social scanner. She is in charge of either you know, glorifying or downgrading or humiliating her community. Her actions actually can uplift as well as downgrade or disadvantage her larger community from where she comes. So, set against this background of this discussion about the refugee woman, we are going to look at Mahanagar by Satyajit Ray. Amrish Misra notes that Mahanagar defines Satyajit Ray's liberal classical bourgeois affiliation, and it criticizes the anti-humanist pro-technological biases of the social system. So, Misra compares Ghatak and Ray and notes that while Ghatak would frequently refer to the traditional myths and symbols and emphasized the instinctual non-rational aspects, Ray would be more rooted in the Indian society and demanded reconstruction of conventional situations and relations. So, Mahanagar, or the big city, was released on 27th of September in 1963. It depicts the multi-human, it depicts the multi-layered human saga, and Ray dissolved the westernized divisions and aesthetical parameters between physical and psychological realism, mise-en-scene, montage, form and content. So, Ray's focus in this film is chiefly on the more overbearing but less humane male figures or male qualities, male features that with which a woman has to negotiate once she is in the public space, in the public domain. So, the film is based on a novel by Narendranath Mitra. It is called Avataronika. So, it is called Avataronika, and it narrates the story of a housewife who has to shed her traditionalist familial limitations or boundaries in order to be in order to get into the skin of a job as a saleswoman, and in the process she has to break a number of gender roles. She has to assume a different self image. So, the narrative is also a very interesting play and experimentation with a woman's self image, how a woman is experimenting and playing with her own self image. So, the film is set in Calcutta, and Satyajit Ray is portraying the daily rituals and habits of the middle class upper caste Bengali family, for whom the most valuable position is their honor. We must remember the history of the middle class refugees migration, emigration from East Pakistan. More than dhan or pran, it was also the question of maan for the which acted as an incentive, a propellant in making them decide to leave, quit their homeland for Calcutta, or for settling in West Bengal or in India. So, the question of maan or self respect is seen as something very important and upheld among the middle class Bengalis, and here we are looking the case of the middle class refugee Bengali family. We see the transformation of the middle class housewife into that of a working woman, and how it leads to a cold war in the family. Although her in-laws do not directly or openly tell her not to go out and take a job, there is a kind of there is a kind of resistance. There is a kind of passive resistance and some altercations, which following which the woman can decide to take up the work as her job as a saleswoman. So, the Second World War had provided the stimulus for one of the greatest social upheavals in the 1950s, and so there was an economic boom, and women were participating in the job arena. A lot of women had become professionals. It was also due to the shifting, changing domestic circumstances. And so, this transition or this transformation was could also be perceived as a movement towards gender equality. The consequence, the economic boom following World War II led to some sort of or a relatively greater situation of gender parity or gender equality. So, Mahanagar shows that female empowerment, which is driven by economic necessity, especially in the post-partition times, was a phenomenon that affected India as much as it affected other modern capitalist democracies across the world. India was no exception. Women were coming forward due to their changed circumstance. Many had the chance to take up job, many were forced to take up job. So, however, in the case of India, the prevailing gender roles were rigidly demarcated, where a woman belonged and what she was supposed to do, such as the domestic chores and bringing up, rearing the children were tasks traditionally associated with with the female members in a family, and these traditional constructions were being revised, were being if not revised, they were undergoing certain changes. They had to be reshuffled and accommodated within the new framework as demanded by by the new circumstances and new challenges that especially the refugee families faced. As in the case of many, I mean, Arati is she symbolizes the and she is constructed and inspired. Her character is inspired by the case of innumerable refugee women in the post-partition Indian society, and what kind of tension or conflict would follow when the woman's personal aspirations and the expectations of the society were not meeting smoothly, and this is something that the film powerfully demonstrates how or rather what happens when the woman's personal aspirations do not tend to follow the prescriptions of the the social mores or the social conventions laid out or charted for her. So, we see the young married woman Arati in Mahanagar, whose family is undergoing some financial need, and it drives her to find a paid job, and initially it's an uphill struggle for her to try and overcome her low self-esteem, and so the traditional notions of a woman's place in society is something that she needs to further, is something that the nature of her work challenges. So, she is constantly negotiating with her, her ideal role as a homemaker, as a housewife, as a good mother, as a good daughter-in-law, and yet she emerges as self-confident and economically independent, and so her ordeal not only enriches her own life, but makes her stronger and better equipped to deal with future crises. For making this film, Satyajit Ray was influenced by the Italian neorealists, notably by Vittorio De Sica in crafting the film's visual design. And through his lens, Satyajit Ray very successfully depicts the gulf, the gap that actually existed between the lower and the upper middle classes in India in the 1950s, immediately after the partition. So, there is a documentary touch in the making of Mahanagar, and yet the film actually engages with the harrowing reality of the Calcuttan society, the metropolitan reality, which the middle class people had to deal with in the post-partition times. The question of job, the question of one's class belonging, the question of family values and division or demarcation in terms of gendered roles. The people and this especially we see the case of this refugee family in the film that are constantly coming to terms with the new reality. They have to face up to new facts, changed facts, right. So, many critics actually spurn the sanguine or the positive message that Ray gives the audience through Mahanagar, where the film is set against the backdrop of the Indochina war that happened in 1962, and of course, the aftermath of partition, where there is a steep immigration of refugees into West Bengal and high statistics of unemployment and a breakdown of urban economies. How does a family stand on its feet and also maintain its retain its spinal cord, as it is commonly said. In other words, how does the family not only survive but also retain its self-respect is the question that Ray is dealing with in this film. So, Calcutta is projected in the light of infinite possibilities. That is the positivity, that is the optimism which informs Satyajit Ray. His humanitarian or his faith in human capabilities is remarkable and amazing, and it shows in the making of Mahanagar. So, critics would find it objectionable that the film ends so optimistically with the couple, Arati and her husband Subrata, actually aspiring to make a living for themselves in the Calcutta metropolis amid a dearth of jobs, amid so much of financial crisis. So, there is a point in Mahanagar where Arati's Eurasian colleague Edith asks her a very important question. So, what Edith says points out or it points to the question of what is pure and what is not. Edith, who is an Anglo-Indian, asks Arati when she is shaky, when she is unsure of using a lipstick. Edith asks why a woman could use the red or the vermilion in the parting of her hair and on her forehead as a bindi, but it would be seen as derogatory as soon as she applies it on her lips, as one colors the lips with a lipstick. So, why red on the lips should be considered as something negative for a Hindu woman if the same redness is obligatory and highly desirable on her hair parting and forehead, and in fact it inscribes, it defines her pureness. So, this throws an ironic statement and it reveals the duplicitous construction of the Hindu Bhadralok, or the duplicitous values that shape the Hindu Bhadralok, and the way they have reduced and they have curbed, limited the meaning of their counterpart, the Bhadra Mahila. So, how the Bhadralok has limited and reduced the social meaning of his counterpart, the Bhadra Mahila. So, Amaresh Mishra notes that an apparently inconsequential act of a traditional woman applying lipstick took the contours of a social event interlaced with a variety of meanings. So, lipstick became a symbol, it is seen as a symbol that brings instabilities into Arati's life, and it actually disrupts her poise as a committed housewife. So, Arati's in-laws family has a background in Eastern Bengal or East Pakistan. So, they were they were originally based in Pabna, and after the post partition after the post partition economic rearrangement, the traditional family relations are also being reshaped, being reconstructed in a way. So, we see the case of the father-in-law, Arati's father-in-law, who was a respected teacher and he was a reigning patriarch, he still is, but there has been a fall, there has been a setback that he has gone through. He used to command a lot of power and position in the pre-partition life. However, in post-partition overpopulated Calcutta, he is a case of identity crisis. He cannot secure a job at this advanced age. No one offers him a job, and so he becomes a symbol of the jobless older generation migrants. He is going, there is a scene where he is going to his former students' home. He is going to his students' home, who is currently very prosperous and well established in Calcutta, and asking him to buy him, asking him for new, asking him to pay for his new glasses, new spectacles. That is the plight, that is the helplessness and the kind of loss of agency that the older generation were going through. So, the family relations subsequently change. Arati's husband is a product of a male dominated household. He takes after his own father, and so once Arati starts working, and not only working but becoming professionally successful, her husband quips with the statement, exit husband, enter wife. So, Subrata is the symbol of the overeducated underpaid male, according to Kallenbach, who is in the process of receiving newer cultural jolts in Calcutta, that is demographically bursting at its seams, demographically bursting at its seams. So, his insecurity shows when his sister, Arati's sister-in-law Bani, encourages Arati to take up the role or to take up a film star's job in Bombay, where the sister-in-law, she very fondly imagines her sister-in-law wearing sunglasses and lipstick and becoming a glamorous and rich woman. To this, Subrata reflexively slights Bani. After the statement, he slights Bani, saying that she is a student of home science, and home science actually has its own history. It shapes from the pre-partition times, in colonial Bengal, home science was quintessential to the shaping, to the making of the Bhadra Mahila. So, it is a field of study designed for grooming the ideal modern housewife who can complement the needs of a modern husband and a new a modern family structure. And so, it is I mean, when Bani is quipped about her field of study, it actually pushes her in a kind of gender niche. So, her possibilities are certainly very narrow. After studying home science, Bani would become a housewife and nothing more than that. This is what is implied. So, we see that after Edith gifts a lipstick and sunglasses to Arti, she momentarily meets Bani's fantasy about her becoming a film star. So, Polumi Chakraborty would note that for Arti's husband, this lipstick becomes a synonym of his wife's unrestrained sexuality and her unsuitable, inappropriate and disruptive modernity, something, a transformation that can ill fits or that does not go suitably with the mores of a middle class family, with the values of a middle class family, which cannot be contained within the bounds of a middle class Bengali, within the norms of a middle class family. His feeling, his insecurity, Shubrata's feeling of insecurity becomes obvious, and as he discovers the lipstick at a moment of a gender reverse performance. So, the lipstick becomes a more outrageous symbol as it is discovered by Subrata from Arti's purse while he is trying to pay the maid servant. He is trying to pay the salary to the maid servant out of Arti's purse. It is a gender reverse moment, because traditionally men earn the bread, men earn the the money for running households, household errand or household expenses, whereas women customarily pay out to the domestic helps. But here we see that the task is reversed, the task is kind of the task is switched. So, the conventional roles, so Arti has Arti's lipstick actually in a way reifies or in a way defines her journey, her process of coming out of her position, her role as the non-earning housewife. We would continue on this, but in our next lecture. Thank you so much.